Cristiano Ronaldo, vai embora Cristiano Ronaldo, mete, bateu, golo.
Balotelli, Aguero!
Posse de bola para Portugal, vai Éder, chuta!
Hello and be welcome to another episode of Panenka's Europe, a mini-series inside the Panenka podcast regarding the teams that our Portuguese clubs will face in the European competitions. Today, we will talk about Sturm Graz, a team that is in Sporting's group in the Europa League. Yes, the only team that we have in the European competitions that is not in the Champions League, unfortunately. Sturm Graz also was supposed or tried to be in the Champions League this season, but couldn't. We will talk about that with Jürgen Pucher from the Black FM podcast, a podcast only about Sturm Graz. Jürgen, be very much welcome. How are you?
Thank you. I'm fine. Thanks for having me.
Thank you for your interest in talking with us a bit about these games. So, first of all, I will ask you, how did you become a Sturm Graz fan, and to tell me a little bit about your project, Black FM.
Yeah, I'm almost 45 years old, so I'm a Sturm Graz fan for more than 30 years now. And I started watching the games as a kid because I went with my family to the old stadium, which still exists, but only used for women's and youth games already now. But I joined this club when I was kind of in elementary school already. So I'm family-based Sturm Graz fan, as you can say. So I started my career as a very young boy. So and I stayed with the club for all the decades now. So. And our project, the podcast, started in 2016. It was kind of the follow-up project from a fan website we produced for some years from 2009 onwards with lots of guys, and three of us, after a short break, thought, okay, we should do something else, we should do something new, and then we started a podcast at the very beginning of this podcast era. So in 2016 there weren't many football podcasts going on in Austria, so we were one of the first ones ever produced in Austria about football. It's only about our club, but still, and it grew a lot over the last years. So also with the success of the club in the last years, and we kind of established our project as a kind of well-known thing going on in Austria. So we are quite happy how it works out at the moment.
That's very great, because as I was telling you before I started recording, our project started in 2020. So your project is more than twice as old as ours. And I wanted to ask you, because normally in this mini series I can discover a fan or a project very quickly, but for these two Austrian clubs, so Sturm Graz and Salzburg, I took a good week of research trying to find someone very passionate about the clubs. With you, I found the perfect person, but with Salzburg, we did not find any fan. We found a journalist, so it's not the same thing. I wanted to ask you, can you explain to me a bit about this phenomena? I don't know.
You mean Red Bull?
No, not just Red Bull. Because people told me that in Austria people use less social media and Twitter very, very less. So I wanted to ask you, okay, about Red Bull too. So I wanted to ask you if you think they are like the Man City of Austria, very much money and less fans. What do you think about that?
Yeah, that's definitely true. Red Bull Salzburg is a marketing project established after they bought the traditional Austria Salzburg club, because they had no money left, and the Red Bull founder Dietrich Mateschitz wanted to join football to have another marketing step for his company, and so he established playing football with the Red Bull logo in, I don't know, 20 years ago now, something. And they have way more money than all the other clubs. They have not a really established fan base, because all the Austrian Salzburg fans joined kind of the refoundation of the club in the lowest league. So there is this Austria Salzburg existing again in third league in Austria. But Red Bull is kind of Yeah, maybe it's like Man City, or maybe it's also a little bit like Bayern Munich, with lots of kind of well-situated people. They want to go to football and see something, kind of playing them against whoever in Champions League. In the Austrian league, they don't have so many fans. Stadium is half empty always, so it's not a fan base, an existing fan base like with our club Sturm Graz or Rapid Wien, which are maybe the most interesting clubs in Austria regarding fan scene.
That's very interesting. Before we pass on to Sturm Graz, I wanted to ask you, what do you know about Sporting and Portuguese football? So maybe you started doing some research into the game, or when you saw that Sporting draw with your club, but what do you know?
Yeah, we started research because of the podcast, because we record the preview tonight. Sporting is well known because it's kind of they played Austrian clubs before. They played Rapid Wien in the 90s, so they were always kind of a little bit. So there was some surveillance going on about them in Austria, but always on a European Cup basis. So we are not following the Portuguese league in detail in our everyday football observations. But Sporting is well known here, so because of many famous players you developed, like Cristiano Ronaldo, Figo. So we think that you have kind of a well-established academy with youth players. So because there is coming out lots of great players in the last decades. We know that your colors are green and white, like our main opponent in the league, Rapid Wien. So that's also a thing we know. And we know one of your strikers, Gyökeres, is kind of, he played with Sweden against the Austrian team last week. So we already got scared a little bit. Because of that, because he should be a good one.
No, we got really excited about Gyökeres when he came in the summer, because first of all the transfer fee was huge, more than 20 million, and for the Portuguese league that's not that common. But he's an amazing player. He scored one. He was man of the match last night in the game against Moreirense, and scored one, assisted another, and he's playing really well. I wanted also to ask you. You mentioned the Sporting game against Rapid, I think, but the much recent memories of Sporting against an Austrian team, it's Las Clins, because we had them in our group in like 2019 in the Europa League group. We won at home. We lost 3-0 in Austria, but then the following season we had them at the Europa League playoff, and we lost. And it was like the big thing. How can Sporting lose to an Austrian team here in Portugal? We talked much about that. It was a 4-1 defeat, and then we ended that season as champions for the first time in like 19 years. So I wanted to ask you if you have any memory of that game, because it's like a big thing here in Portugal.
Yeah, I know they played each other, but I have not a specific memory. I'm not following Las Clins so much, but I know these games happened. And I know Las Clins was in a very good shape these years. You mentioned now, but I have not a specific memory for the game. So it's always a big thing in Austria if you defeat a team of a bigger league. So for them, it's a big success.
Okay, don't worry. So, about Sturm Graz, I wanted to ask you, please explain to me a bit about the Sturm Graz season. So you're at second place. You finished last season at second place too. You lost your Champions League playoff with PSV Eindhoven. The last time you were champions, Austrian champions, it was at 10-11 that season. So I wanted to ask you to explain to me the momentum of your club right now.
Yeah, the momentum of the club is we are actually the team after Red Bull Salzburg, because Red Bull Salzburg won the title for the last 10 years. And if there is a normal regular season going on, you can't defeat them because they have too much money. They have way better players than all the other clubs have. So being second in the league is being actually top of the league of the real football clubs here in Austria. So Sturm Graz developed in the last 3 or 4 years a new approach, actually, because we have a new sports director and new coach, and they established a quite successful way of playing football in the last year. It's like a little bit of a copy of Red Bull Salzburg in the style of playing, lots of pressing, lots of kind of direct play in the front, and it works out very well because we have a nice scouting section. We always develop really interesting players which either work for our club or which on the other side, like Rasmus Hojlund in the recent season, we can sell it for really much money in Austria. So it's working out very well. We kind of develop lots of players which we can sell, and we establish kind of a stable basis in our club which can play successful football in Austria and also in Europe, because we almost made it to the playoffs, to the KO games in the Europa League last year. So it was really tight with 8 points on the 4th place and 8 points for the other clubs in last year. So it was really disappointing. But we played good football. It was really nice.
Okay, you were talking about how you kind of develop a young talent and then sell it. It's very much similar to what we do here in Portugal on Benfica, Porto, Sporting, Braga make here in Portugal.
Sorry to interrupt on another level. I saw you sold the player for 60 million last season. So
no, yes, of course, because Portuguese football, I think it has more investment than the Austrian league, sure. So it has a more negotiation power. So Benfica sold the midfielder to Chelsea for 120 million. So it's something ridiculous. And yes, Sporting sold Ugarte for 60 million. But Austria, I think it's that, but on a smaller level. But I wanted to ask you that you told me that Salzburg has won the title 10 seasons in a row. I wanted to ask you if that project, that marketing project, as you called, kind of ruined Austrian football, or do you think that it's just how football works?
It didn't ruin Austrian football. It ruined the kind of excitement of the league, because you always know that there is one team which wins the title if everything goes in one direction, as it does the last 10 years. So it's the big exception. We are really happy that we could win the cup title two times in the last years, which is a big success for us, so that we at least can win the other one, because it's for sure kind of easier to win it compared to a whole league season. But it ruined a little bit the excitement, who wins the race at the very end, because you know who wins the race, and that's not fun for the fans of the other clubs. On the other hand, for sure you have to mention that Red Bull Salzburg wins a lot of stuff in the international football, which helps Austrian football on the other side. So there are two ways. Not the fans, not people like we are, say, okay, they are important, they help us, they develop the national team with better players, they put Austrian football on another level because it's more recognized, it's kind of more noticed, it's actually helping to raise the quality of Austrian football. But on the other hand, for the league itself and how a league should be, that it should be an exciting thing with teams competing about the title at the very end. From this perspective, they ruined it a little bit, yeah.
Okay. So, who do you think that is the key player of your club, or the key players who are the stars of your club?
Or the real stars we lost the last years. A real star was Rasmus Hojlund, even if it was only 9 months of the club. But in the existing team, we have actually a stable midfield with lots of important players there. We have new strikers because we lost Emega to French League, which was the main striker in the last season. But the most important player from my perspective is defensive midfielder João Stankovic, which is kind of the guy most important in the midfield, in the central defense midfield. Then we have Gregory Wüthrich in defense, central defense, which we almost lost to the German league, but we were very happy that we can still play with him at least until the winter break comes up. And we have many new strikers. We have wlodarczyk from Poland, which is working out quite okay in the league, but he didn't score in the international games so far. So we hope that he can improve a little bit for the European League. The main thing is that we have kind of a really good system working at the moment, coming from our coach, and the players, the backbone of the players in the midfield is the most important thing in our club, in my opinion. It's also Otar Kiteshvili, who scored against Salzburg last Saturday. People in the midfield coming up, it's very important.
Okay, so and you can begin by that, but I wanted to ask you how would you describe your playing style, as you are giving so much attention to your midfield, but how would you describe it as a whole?
It's lots of pressing going on. We attack very early on a regular basis, also against better clubs. We have a little bit of problems against very defensive clubs because we don't have so much solutions in the offense if we have to play around the box, which is actually not so easy for us. But if we play better teams and we have some space in the attacking zone, so we can really play forward and can be fast at the opponent's goal. That's maybe the main key of our coaching team. So it's a direct pressing play.
Okay. I also wanted to ask you, so this weekend, Sturm Graz played Salzburg, and Salzburg will play against Benfica this week. I wanted to ask you, how was the game? Did you went to the stadium? How did you felt about the result and the performance?
It was a great game. I was at the stadium, yeah. It was a great game. It was a very intense game. We almost won it. They got a penalty at the very end of the game, which was kind of a discussion going on if it was a penalty. So yeah, it's a 50-50 thing. Maybe it was correct, maybe not. But it was very intense, lots of emotions. And we were at the end very happy because it was a good performance of our team. It was a great game for the Austrian League. It was a nice atmosphere with lots of fireworks going on. So I loved being there. And it was at the end, it's a draw against Red Bull is always okay for us at the moment. So you can't expect to win against them. And from the kind of character of the game, it was for the Austrian League, it was a great game.
Good. And I wanted to end this conversation by asking you your predictions for the two games, home and away. What do you think that will happen?
We be playing you on Thursday.
Yes.
Yeah, the thing is, you're the best team in our group. Looking at your team and your players you have going on there, it would be a big success and a huge surprise if we could score even one goal against you, in my opinion. So we would be very happy if we could perform, if we maybe could steal 1 point in the home game. But if you be realistic, it's actually not the team to beat for us in this group. So you are I think 2 or 3 levels above us. It's a little bit like we played PSV Eindhoven in the Champions League playoff. This is a kind of level of teams which we can maybe beat on our best day and on your worst day. But from another perspective, maybe if something happens in a game which helps us, but on a regular basis, it's a little bit like playing Red Bull over a whole season. There's almost no chance for us.
No, I'm surprised you have so little hope because
I always have hope, but you asked me for a realistic perspective on the game.
No, of course, but Sporting will probably rotate some players, not all the key ones, and maybe not on the first leg, maybe more on the other games. But I don't know. Do you think the European competitions are a priority to Sturm Graz? And then if Sporting thinks that there is a secondary objective, you can make an upset? I don't know.
Yeah, but that's maybe our chance. What we discuss when we talk with other fans, that maybe Sporting doesn't take us so seriously, like maybe some other opponents. That's maybe one chance for us. But even then, even their second row of players is maybe stronger than ours. But I don't know. Maybe this one could help us. I forgot the other question now, but.
No, it was basically what you said. So kind of Sporting rotates some players, and Sturm Graz has all the best team.
Remember now you asked about the priority of European games for my club. So this is
yes.
for sure one, because it's for us it's a lot of money we can get there, and for us it's always a big success to play on an international basis. If we play the European Cup, we're always happy because that's our main goal for the club every year, to regain this stage of being in a European group stage. That's the most important thing for us to achieve, because there's the money coming up. And for Austrian club, Europa League is lots of money. So for us, it's very important to be successful there and to at least score some points. And our main goal is for the club is to play still in Europa in spring, even if it's only Conference League. But that's our goal. Not like last season, we almost made it. We had 8 points. We could have been second also, with a little bit more luck. And this season, we hope that we can stay in the European Cups until spring is coming up. So that's the main goal of the club.
Okay. Thank you so much for being here with me, Jürgen. Please, to all the people that are listening to us, go check the Black FM podcast. It's a very interesting project. And Jürgen, all the best for your European and home games. I think I really hope that Sturm Graz has a good season. And thank you very much.
Thanks, same to you too.
Liverpool 3-0. Corner taken quickly, Origi!
Está João Cristiano Ronaldo, vai embora Cristiano Ronaldo, mete, gol.
Balotelli, Aguero!
Posse de bola para Portugal, vai Éder, chuta! Gol!